All right, let's dive straight into this highly anticipated FIFA World Cup explainer. We've got a massive World Cup clash, Spain versus Cape Verde. And honestly, we are looking at a true tactical paradox today. On one side, you have a nation whose entire footballing DNA is built on just completely smothering opponents with the ball. And on the other, a nation that actually thrives without it. When Spain lines up against Cape Verde, we aren't just watching a normal football match. We're watching two totally different philosophies of the beautiful game absolutely collide. You see, Spain wants to turn the pitch into a chessboard, moving pieces with agonizing precision until a gap opens up. Cape Verde, on the other hand, wants to turn it into a track meet, springing traps and punishing the slightest misstep in transition. It's the ultimate test of systematic control against explosive opportunism, and understanding how these two systems interact is absolutely crucial for predicting how this game is going to unfold.
So we have the tournament favorites versus the underdogs. You know, this dynamic is so often just written off as exactly that, David versus Goliath. But it's actually much more like the established bull against the unpredictable shark. Spain represents the bull, right? Powerful, methodical, grounded in a deeply entrenched system that dictates exactly how the game should be played. They step onto the grass fully expecting to dictate the terms of engagement. Cape Verde, conversely, is the shark in open water. They don't need to control the whole environment. They just need to wait for a single drop of blood. They are completely comfortable operating in the deep, just absorbing pressure for long stretches, relying on sheer defensive grit before striking with lethal efficiency. In knockout tournament football, this stark difference in approach often totally neutralizes the perceived gap in individual talent. It creates this incredibly volatile environment where the supposed lesser team can absolutely dictate the game's actual rhythm without ever holding on to the ball.
Let's look closer at Spain, the favorites. Their status as heavyweights isn't just born from a rich history, it's a direct product of their relentless tactical evolution. The era of pure, methodical tiki-taka has morphed into a much more aggressive, vertical brand of positional play. But the core idea remains exactly the same. The ball is their best defensive weapon. By maintaining, say, 70 to 80% possession, they actively deny the opposition any oxygen to attack. We're looking at a system heavily reliant on numerical superiority in the midfield. Players form these tight little triangles to constantly offer passing lanes. And this isn't just about keeping the ball for the fun of it. It's a systematic dismantling of the opponent's defensive structure. Spain literally uses the ball to physically exhaust the opposition, shifting them side to side until mental fatigue causes a defender to step out of line for just a fraction of a second. Breaking down Spain's strengths, we are talking about world-class players, an incredible passing game, and the ability to control possession. But how do they actually execute this? Well, Spain routinely uses inverted fullbacks who tuck right into the central midfield alongside a single pivot. This tactical wrinkle creates an artificial overload, essentially dropping 4 or 5 technically gifted playmakers right in the center of the park. It's a real game changer because it allows them to bypass the initial press with intricate, short passing combinations. And when they do inevitably lose the ball, their spacing is already incredibly tight, so they can trigger an immediate, suffocating counterpress to win it back in seconds. Plus, their world-class wingers are instructed to stay aggressively wide, pinning back the opposition's defense and stretching the line to its absolute limit. This opens up those vital half spaces between the center backs and fullbacks, which Spain's attacking midfielders relentlessly exploit with perfectly timed late runs into the box. Now, shifting our focus to Cape Verde, the underdogs. This presents a fascinating counter-narrative. To truly understand the sheer scale of their achievement in this tournament, consider this. Cape Verde has a population of just over 500,000 people. To put that into perspective, that is roughly the size of a single Spanish city like Malaga. Yet here they are punching massively above their weight on the global stage. Their identity isn't forged in sprawling academies, but in incredible tactical discipline and collective resilience. They actually use that underdog label to mask a highly sophisticated defensive setup. They are entirely unbothered by losing the possession battle. Instead, they operate with a highly pragmatic mindset, knowing full well that in tournament football, defensive solidity and the ability to execute flawlessly under intense pressure are often way more valuable than trying to match a superior team pass for pass. When we look at Cape Verde's strengths, teamwork, defensive organization, and quick counterattacks, the mechanics really come down to a deeply entrenched, low and compact defensive block. They often shift into a rigid 5-4-1 out of possession. This shape is specifically designed to completely remove the space between the lines that teams like Spain desperately want to exploit. By dropping their defensive line right to the edge of their own penalty area, they force the opposition out wide and basically invite harmless crosses, totally backing their aerially dominant center backs to clear the danger. But the true threat, That's their transitional speed. The moment they force a turnover in those congested central areas, boom, the spring is released. Using direct vertical passes, they bypass the midfield entirely, targeting the massive swaths of empty grass left behind by Spain's high-flying fullbacks. It requires absolute synchronized teamwork, but when it clicks, a counterattack can go from their own penalty box to the back of the opponent's net in under 10 seconds. No joke.
So this brings us to the key tactical battle. And the physical clash on the grass is ultimately going to give way to an intense psychological war that will almost certainly define the match. For Spain, the primary challenge is all about maintaining patience and concentration. I mean, hitting a perfectly organized defensive wall over and over again without a breakthrough, that breeds immense frustration. If they don't find an early goal, that frustration can lead to forced passes, abandoned game plans, and a highly dangerous vulnerability to the counter. For Cape Verde, the challenge is entirely about surviving mental and physical exhaustion. Think about it. Chasing shadows and shifting laterally for 85 minutes just to cover passing lanes drains the legs and dulls the mind. The defining moment of this game will likely hinge on a single lapse in concentration. Maybe a Spanish center back stepping too far forward, or a Cape Verde midfielder failing to track a runner in the 89th minute just due to pure fatigue.
Looking at our tactical comparison table, we have Spain aiming to dominate possession and create plenty of chances, versus Cape Verde looking to stay compact and wait for the break. Because of this total clash of styles, the critical zones of the pitch become highly localized. The game won't necessarily be won across the whole field, but in these intense micro-battles occurring within the half spaces, those crucial corridors right outside the penalty box. Spain is going to camp in the attacking third, probing those areas methodically, looking to draw just one single Cape Verde defender out of their zone. It's extreme patience versus opportunistic ambush. Spain has got to circulate the ball with enough zip and purpose to actually displace that defensive block, not just passively pass side to side. Conversely, Cape Verde must maintain absolute spatial awareness, staying incredibly compact to deny central penetration, all while keeping their forwards perfectly positioned, ready to instantly capitalize the very second the possession changes hands.
As the old quote goes, football is full of surprises. And we have seen exactly this kind of tactical script flipped totally upside down on the biggest stage before. You only have to look back at recent tournaments. Remember when Saudi Arabia shocked Lionel Messi's Argentina by using a fearless high line and relentless organization? Or when Morocco historically dismantled Spain themselves using a fiercely disciplined low block and lethal counterattacks? Those matches prove that overwhelming possession and historical pedigree mean absolutely nothing if you can't bypass a perfectly drilled defensive unit. The blueprint for a massive upset exists, and it's built entirely on the tactical principles Cape Verde is going to employ today. The possibility of a giant killing isn't just some romantic notion for the fans. It is a grounded, statistical reality in modern football, when an elite defensive structure perfectly neutralizes an elite possession system. So, the ultimate question for you, which team are you supporting in this match, Spain or Cape Verde? Ultimately, this matchup asks a fascinating question about the very evolution of modern football. In an era where data analytics, expected goals, and overwhelming possession metrics seemingly rule the game, will raw, highly organized defiance still find a way to break the algorithm? It really is the ultimate clash of footballing ideologies. Are you backing the systematic brilliance and control of Spain? Or are you rooting for the pragmatic resilience and explosive counterattacks of Cape Verde? Let us know your pick down in the comments. And hey, before you go, make sure to hit like on this explainer, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications so you never miss out on our deep dives into the tactics of the beautiful game.